Witches are we, witches are we, witches are we on a Wednesday. Hello.
I love that.
It's the only time you hear me with a squeaky voice.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Yes,
Hello,
I
everyone.
can do it.
Welcome.
Well, hello, everybody. We've got a few peeps in. Heather, you're going to have to do your funny
I
wave.
will. Yes, I'm the one with the eyes this
We're
week.
waving to Tony.
We're waving to
We're
Red Wing.
Red Wing.
We're waving to Hannah Lee. We're waving to Tony Jackman, who's not a witch, he's a very naughty boy.
Oh, naughty, naughty. Shh, he says.
Mm.
Oh, dear me. Dear, oh, dear, oh, dear. I don't know. Is being a witch being a bad thing? Definitely not. It's a good thing.
Well, not in my book.
Not in my book. No, definitely not. Definitely not. It has an awful lot of goodness about it. And we've got a Chris in. Hello, Chris. Hope you're well this evening too. In fact, I hope everyone's well. And if you're watching back, hello to you too.
Yes, please be well, because so many people haven't been.
Yes.
Be well.
Yes,
An
please. No, we don't need any more unwellness about us, do we?
No, there's been a bit of a rash of it, shall we say?
A plethora.
Yeah, too much.
We don't want any more.
No, too much silliness. Can't happen anymore.
No, definitely not. And in fact, actually, because we've been doing so much healing. Oh no, Chris has got COVID. Oh, Chris, I hope you're not too poorly with it. Hopefully you've got the milder version.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to have escaped it through all of this time, and all of a sudden my neighbours have had it, and people on the reselling channels have had it, and it's thankfully also mostly, as far as I can tell, it does seem to be quite low key. So
yeah,
get well soon, everybody, and then we can all move on.
God, yeah,
Oh,
I know.
dear.
There seems to be one long round of illness and hospitals and God knows what else, which is of course why I wasn't here last week. Next week,
no.
time off. I'm not here next week either because it's my birthday. Some of us are getting older, you know.
Most of us, actually, with any luck.
On a minute by minute basis, yeah. So we're not here next week. So yes. So that's not going to be happening. And I shall be off down to Little Hampers for the day. That'll be nice. Go and see the sea. Haven't seen the sea for a jolly long time. Actually, that's not true. I have my granddaughter at the weekend, and they live down in Brighton. So obviously going to take her home again. Got to see the sea, albeit at a distance, but it was sparkling. It was still there.
It was still there. It's not very anyway.
No, it's nice to know that it's still there. You just need reminding occasionally, don't you?
Yeah.
So yeah. So that'll be nice. Going to go and see the sea next week on my birthday. So so that'll be nice. Anyway, so we're not here next week. But we weren't here last week because I was not very well myself. And so, as a result of that, we thought we'd do some chatting about healing, didn't we? Because you've been doing all sorts of healing for all sorts of peeps, haven't you?
Many friends have coincided being quite poorly all at the same time.
Yeah.
Totally coincidental, totally different things. But, you know, as a witch, one spreads oneself as thin as possible.
Definitely.
And that's not easy to say with these teeth in. But, it's been quite demanding trying to sort of spread myself around and think, who have I forgotten? Who haven't I contacted? Is everyone okay?
Yeah.
Do they need anything?
No, it's not good actually, is it? Not good at all. So have you had a go-to method of healing yourself or this week? Or have you been doing lots of different things or...
I've been very much in default mode because it's all been a bit sudden and a bit kind of like, ooh, right. So I've gone to my default, which is to go in, usually last thing at night, I go into a very quiet space and I work in my head and I do energy work with my hands, and I'm working that way. I'm literally sort of channeling whatever needs to go where it needs to go. I do different things for different people, obviously. But I also had some very good news that my uncle, who'd been quite poorly, has been given the all clear. So I'm kind of, oh, thank God.
That's brilliant news.
Yes,
that is brilliant.
So yes, that's all good. So
1 down, 24 to go.
Well, it has been a bit like that, yes. But you don't leave someone out. I always kind of get quite frightened I'm going to forget somebody because I'm very forgetful about dates and names and places and concrete things like that.
Yeah.
So I really have to literally write things down and go,
Yeah.
okay, this person is there, this is what's expected to happen. This person is there, they need this. This person is there, they want this. And
Yeah.
I've literally only had really the sort of space and time and resources to be able to do the hermetic in my head stuff, energy work really, which is how I work with it, visualize the energy that they might need and literally send it to them. I've been doing some interesting stuff though. I found that I've been working with where I can feel, I think about the person, visualize them,
Yeah.
and I get a feeling in one of my hands. So I concentrate on what that is and build that up. Then I get the picture of the person as they would like to be,
Yeah.
i.e. healthy in these instances, doing whatever it is they can't currently do and living the life they want to live. And I get that in my other hand. And then what I actually do is there comes a point where I can bring the hands closer together. And what I'm doing is the energy is working.
Yeah.
And then that gets sent off to them when it's resolved, it done what it needs to do, and then it goes.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just come to me lately as a different way of working, because I've literally got the left and the right hand, and I'm trying to change what is and what can be and make it something that works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't know where it came from. Haven't a clue.
Yeah. It happens like that though. Sometimes you suddenly get these, it's almost like a light bulb moment, isn't it? It's like, do you know what? I'm going to do that. And it's just what feels right at the time. And I'm very much not a person for let's have a look in this book and see what it says. It just that doesn't resonate with me. I like
it's like recipe books. I like them for inspiration, but when it actually comes to doing something, I tend to make it up as I go along.
Yeah, exactly.
With a few first principles and stuff I've learned along the way. But with using this, with actually using the energy centers in your hands and sending it through. I mean, I'm aware that it's not my energy. I'm literally tapping into something. But I find that whether it's spirit or whatever name you choose to give it, but it's definitely, I feel like I'm working with them.
Yeah.
And it requires no equipment. That's the thing, is I haven't got to think, I've got to go out here and find this. It's got to be this time of day, or I've got to do that. I actually just can create the right conditions internally and then go and do the work.
Yeah, yeah.
So
it's interesting, isn't it? And it's such a different way of doing it. And I've been doing some myself because obviously I haven't been very well. Hannah hasn't been very well either. And so we've been doing stuff together and it's just like, it's, But it's been interesting because we've been using different, different methods of stuff. So we've been doing, very much spell work with with ingredients and herbs and crystals and that kind of stuff, quite long and involved things, for the most part, not exclusively, but for the most part there's been really sort of long and involved things, tapping into what crystals might have been needed, what herbs might have been needed, what might be beneficial, what essential oils might be, etc. So we've been doing that, but we've been doing some plant magic as well. So, for example, we needed to do something which utilizes the power of willow. Obviously it's got this amazing root creation thing. In fact, I think most rooting hormones comes from willow, I believe. Is that right?
Well, I know it's got pain-killing properties because salicylic acid comes from the bark of the tree, and
that's right. Yeah.
So it's got many properties and incredibly fast-growing.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's fast-growing and so on and so forth. So we've been doing stuff with willow as well, and so weaving it and sort of creating this really tight-knit web. In order to fix the problem that we needed to fix, and that's that's good. And what's nice is that even a couple or so weeks later, already you can see that it's rooting itself. And there was great long strands of willow that we took from a tree. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, so it's all, you can see it's growing.
Exactly, but you can see that it's beginning to take root and it's beginning to sort of knit itself together, and you sort of got these new shoots and stuff on it, and that's very encouraging because obviously it's that representation of what it was you wanted it to do and what you've done it all for, and it's representative of the outcome that you're trying to create. So that's been really interesting. So we've been sort of doing that, and oh god, it's just been, and as you say, it's been full on because there seems to be an awful lot of poorly people about. So Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's quite interesting. I love the challenge. It's been a daily thing pretty much, but I love the challenge of what's going to be best for this particular person. You know, and I like to give the time and energy, and I've got the time, space, and energy to be able to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And of course, that means that, you know, you're kind of giving it 100%, because you're really going through exactly what needs that person has, and then tailor making everything you're doing to that particular person. So yeah, that's been really interesting, and it's been, you know, full on, really,
Yes.
very full on.
Well, that's the thing. It was with so many people needing so many different things. For me to find a method that seems to be fairly reasonably speedy, I have to admit, it's quite like, oh, I was quite taken aback with it. I was just sort of lying there, as I do. As you know, as everyone knows, I've said it before, I do a lot of my work in that sort of hour or so before I go to sleep, when hubby's all
Yeah,
off and away in the land of Nod, and I've kind of got a real sense of space to work in.
yeah,
Family commitments, etc. I mean, that's not such a thing normally.
yeah,
Um, and it was literally, I just thought, I was thinking of something. I thought I could feel something, like my hand was holding something. You know, it's a
yeah,
real tactile sensation. I thought, oh, okay. And so it took me a while to work with it and think, well, okay, what's happening? That's energy. Close my eyes. What does it look like? You know, really kind of use all the senses to get a feel.
yeah,
And then think, okay, what does that represent? I know. I was thinking about that person as they are currently, not being well. So what happens if? And you know, it's that kind
yeah,
of thing. What happens if I think of them being the way they would like to be or have expressed a wish to be?
yeah,
Then I thought, I'm getting a different energy in a different hand. Okay, what shall I do? Oh, I wonder what would happen if you kind of merge them. Perhaps something
yeah,
would transform, because it's alchemical, isn't it? The way
yeah,
it
yeah,
works.
exactly. Yeah,
So I mean, I'm sure it's not, there's nothing new under the sun. I'm sure someone else probably works in a similar way, but I hadn't read it anywhere, and I hadn't. It was just one of those things in the small
just
house
seems
of life.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
seems
it
right.
just seemed the right
Sometimes
thing to
that's what
do.
you need, isn't it? And it's not about the fact that somebody else has done it before. It's
No,
not about the fact that it's a tried and tested method, even. It's just one of those things, if it feels right, probably is. And that's where you have to trust your intuition, isn't it? And your instinct.
absolutely. Yeah,
And that, of course, only really comes with experience, I suppose. It's not one of those things that you can just tap into right at the beginning of your path, I suppose. But when you've done things dozens and dozens and dozens of times, and you think, well, I've done that before, that didn't work, but actually I did that, there's a variation on this. Yeah, you can literally make it up as you go along, and you sort of realise, no, it's not going to work. That might. Let's try that. And you
yeah.
just know. And you
It's the
do
best
have
way
that
to
sense
work.
of knowing.
Yeah,
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
because I do believe that, you know, internally you already know what it is that you need to do. It's just your conscious mind often gets in the way, or
Yeah.
blocks up, or goes, oh, well, I can't do that because I can't get hold of this, that, or the other, or I've got to
Mm.
make time. And so you find other ways around it, as
Yeah.
I have done, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And it's tapping into that intuition, isn't it? Tapping into that knowledge, that innate knowledge that you've got,
Yeah,
and really just going, yeah, I know that.
yeah.
Yeah. It takes a while
It
to trust
feels
it.
right. Yeah, it
It does
feels
take a while
right.
to trust it, though, doesn't it?
Well, it
Yeah.
does, because I had done a very similar thing for my uncle, strangely enough. And it was kind of so brief, and I thought, oh, he's going to be all right now. And I thought, well, that's a
Yeah.
bit brief and a bit kind of like odd.
Yeah.
Once I'd done it, I'd let go of it, because that's also, as we said before, it's very important to let go of
Yeah.
the need for a result. That's sometimes the hardest bit.
Yes.
But I did release it, and I knew we had treatments and things and what have you. And then to hear that, I'm like, well, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's encouraging, thankfully.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if I have
Yeah,
any
it
part
is.
to play in it, that's lovely. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. No, it's all good stuff. We've got some new people. We have Jen all the way across the pond. Hello, Jen. Hope you're really, really well today. And have we got some other people? Oh, Chris says happy birthday for next week. Oh, thank you very much. I can't wait. Actually, it'll be a nice day. I'm looking forward to it. Haven't seen my brother for about 18 months, so that'll be really nice. It was quite funny. The last time I saw him was in that strange time in the middle of lockdown that was not lockdown, that was lockdown. Do you remember that was really bizarre in
2 months
2020.
of summer and freedom. Yes.
Yes, it was rather bizarre. And I went to go and see him then, and I managed to convince my nephew to go and visit, who hadn't been to visit his dad for yonks. I mean, literally years. And I managed to convince him. And after he'd been to visit him, I sort of messaged my nephew and said, "Did you get to see him?" And he said, "If you mean, did I visit the old wizard by the sea? Then yes."
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, lockdown's not fared too well on my brother. You kind of sort of, you know, the haircuts hadn't happened, and
He neglected his facial hair, did he?
Yeah, exactly. And the shoes hadn't happened. I think, you know, the slippers had become permanently attached to the feet and all that kind of stuff. So
Oh,
yeah, the
dear.
old wizard by the sea. And he was already eccentric, and I think it made it even more eccentric.
Fair enough. He obviously found his niche.
Yes, I know. It makes me look positively sane, I'll tell you. So yeah, the old wizard by the sea. So yes. So so Tony says, go to the sea and wave back.
Yeah.
We might well do, yes. Looking forward to it. So yeah, what we got here? Oh yeah, so Hans says it's sense of smell. I think this is referring to
Yeah.
with COVID, isn't it? It's smelling bananas and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'll tell you something strange that happened last week when it comes to the sense of smell. Came back from an appointment at the hospital, and on the way to the hospital there was this very, very strong smell in the car, which kind of didn't register so much with me, but did with Hannah. I was like, okay. And then, having been to the hospital, got back in the car, and I'm looking around thinking, oh, someone's put an air freshener up and I haven't noticed. Because I'm like, what is that?
It's a little car, isn't it? Your car.
Yeah,
So it's
tiny
not
little car. It's like, how can you put something up and not notice? So they're like, well, that's what I could smell before. I'm like, okay, that's really strange. Smelled like dewberry. Do you remember good old Body Shop dewberry?
Oh, there's a market for that now.
Yeah.
Very
Oh, is it
pungent
back
though,
in the
isn't it?
market again? Is it a big thing?
Oh yeah, people love it.
Anyhow, so it's like, okay, have we got spirit? Is it, you know, someone trying to say something? But actually, having looked up what the properties of dewberry are, I learned quite a lot about dewberries that I didn't previously know.
Wow.
Turns out I've got some in my garden. Who knew? And that magic jam that I made us has got dewberries in.
Oh.
So there you go. But it turned out that one of the properties in dewberry was exactly one of the properties that was required for some healing that we needed. And it's like, right, break out the magic jam. So out came the pot of magic jam.
There's nothing like magic jam.
Nothing like magic jam. It's really, have you tried it yet?
I don't know if I have.
Oh, anyway, it's really, really nice. So yeah. So there we go. So yeah, so it was just like, well, there you go. That was the thing that we needed to know. That was the sort of like the critical ingredient, if you like, of what we needed healing wise. It was like, okay, never really thought of that. So that was an interesting thing, different sense. What's that me?
Sorry, I don't know if that was me.
No, that was actually me. What's going on there? Do I want to restart and install the latest Windows update?
Could we put that off for a little while?
Do that now. I think I might not do that right
Yeah.
this minute. I think that might be a bad idea, don't you? So that was interesting, you know, kind of being told, you know, have you thought about this from a smell point
The
of
sense
view?
of smell. That's
Yeah, but it took a little while to pinpoint what, you know, when you smell something and it's familiar, it's like, what is that? What is it? What is it? And sometimes it takes a little while. And it's like, oh, it's dewberry. Let's look up what dewberry is, and bosh, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. One of my case, Auntie Stella. But anyway.
So that's a new way of doing things, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hadn't come across that before, being told nasally what to use.
Yeah, nasally.
It's like, yeah, only bits of inspiration. Oh, look, we've got a bird. Hello. Hello. Come on then. Hello. This could be interesting.
Cat-free at the moment.
Yeah, no, this could be interesting. I think we might just be passing by. Possibly.
We're getting a tail.
We're getting a tail and a back. Yes, he's in disgrace at the moment. We had almost carcass brought in today. Unfortunately, it wasn't a full carcass, and it.
Oh, what's worse than a whole one? Half a one.
Oh God! So yeah, so that wasn't very nice. Poor little thing wasn't yet dead. Oh, it was awful, wasn't it? Horrible cat. You're horrible. What are you? Horrible.
Yeah.
I love him dearly, really, but I just wish he wouldn't do that. And I've told him, and look, hang on, there seems to be an issue. Hang on. Hello. Where is he? There he is. Hello.
Oh, there he is. Hello. Oh, and he's off. Oh.
That's the face of Naughty. That's what Naughty looks like.
He looks quite pleased with himself, if I'm perfectly honest.
Hello.
Looks like I'm having a conversation with the cat.
Just dispatch the cat. There we go. Yes. So so that was a new experience for me. Sort of being told nasally what you might need. I was like, oh,
interesting, though.
Not done that one before. Yeah, so that's new. Okay, I'm open to that. And that's the thing. It's nice to be open to stuff because you quite often get random smells, don't you? And you think, well, is that a thing? Is that a something? Is that somebody trying to pass a message on?
Yeah, I've had smells of, like, say, someone about. But we have a bit of an issue where I live because there is a factory somewhere near us that does make fragrances for things, and it's really sickly, and it will come over. They're not always the same, but I know that is a real smell, if you know what I mean. But stand there going, what the heck's that? That smells a bit like, oh, it's the factory. Oh, God.
Yeah. Mind you, living on a farm.
yes, you have some corking smells.
Yeah. There are quite a few occasions where you walk out the front door and choose not to breathe in at all for a minute or two. Just hold your breath till you get to the car.
Yeah.
Especially if the poo lorry has been passed once or twice. That's
yes.
Right. Mind you, I got my grandson in the summer because I could see the poo lorry coming. I said to him, "Oh, is that popcorn I can smell?" By which time the lorry had arrived, and Freddie goes, got him. That's what upset 7-year-olds. That works a treat. Like, try that.
Popcorn.
You have to wait for the poo lorry to be quite close by, to be fair. But anyway.
Mean.
I know. Well, horrid, Nana. I really am. Oh, God. So, yes. So there we go. Oh, Chris says he's a stunner. She says you're a stunner, Bert.
Oh.
Says I know. He looks like the butler, actually. He's not very good at butling, mind you. Are you? He's rubbish. He never brings me tea in the morning, ever. Or coffee. Or even biscuits, to be honest.
No bloody use at all then, really, is it?
No.
No.
Heather says you're no bloody use at all.
Apart from cuddling.
Yes. I don't know. He's got rather sharp feet. You're not very good at cuddling either, really, are you? You're a bit sharp. You're sharp in the foot department. So Tony says, talking of cats, would you be able to talk a bit about animal guides? Yes. Well, we'll have a go, shall we?
We'll have a go. You may know more about this than I do, but yes.
Okay. Well, again, I am not. Oh, we've got a Hattie. Hang on, let me just grab it.
We're all coming in because we're talking about animals, you see.
Okay. So this is Hattie.
Oh, yeah.
He's very beautiful. Yes. Oh, look at this sad little face. Oh, yeah. He's got his little mouth on.
Yeah.
There he is. I'm going to say hello. Oh, hello, everybody. Yes. Did you want to go to the dish? And that's that way.
You clearly didn't want to stay.
No. Okay, so I am definitely not an expert on animal guides, and to be honest, a relatively new phenomenon for me. Because working with familiars, I find somewhat different to working with animal guides. And I've worked with familiars, and for me, they tend to be have tended, not exclusively, but have tended to be cats that essentially join in with anything I'm doing. They seem to take an interest in it. Some of the cats that, as soon as you get out, any kind of magical equipment, they're just scarper and they're not in the least bit interested. And there are some that are like, okay, coming. and they'll come and join in and so on. Barney's one of them. I think Barney's on the bed. She may turn up at some point in time. Who knows?
Right.
So yeah. So yeah, and I find that I don't know, it's a different, for me, it's quite a different thing having a familiar. Now, obviously, there are some people that will say no, they have familiars in spirit. They have, and then they'll have spirit animals or totem animals and familiars, and they will kind of like are interchangeable. For me, I don't see it quite like that. But with animal guides, spirit guides, things like that, what I tend to do is notice when there are synchronicities, if you like. There'll be, oh, here it comes. It's talking about you.
Ah, there's a synchronicity.
Yes. Oh, not too
That's
far away.
the thing. If an animal
too far
turns
away.
up, if a certain animal turns up, like I think we had hornets and squirrel.
That's right. Yeah, and squirrel and hare. Do you remember we had
Yeah,
hare?
we
When we did
definitely
our
had, and that was
Essex
3
little
times
definite-
in a day.
It
And I
was,
think,
and yeah, and for me, that's the thing. Is because you can take a drive in the countryside and see a pheasant. That's not really that outlandish. You can take a drive in the countryside and drive past a cow. Again, not that beyond the realms of possibility. But if you suddenly, it's what you notice, isn't it? Because these things might be around all the time. So, for example, last week, I think it was last Saturday just gone, saw a Harris hawk. Now, that's not something you see every day in this country, is it?
not every day. I mean, hawks
Blooming great big thing, huge it was, and it had escaped from its owner. So yeah, saw that, and again, that it's a question of looking it up and seeing. Obviously, you can look up on the internet, and you can look up in books if you've got books, and so on and so forth. So yeah, if it's a particularly unusual thing that you spot, then yeah, take notice of it and see what it's got to say about it. But again, like when we saw the hares, when we went away to Essex, that was interesting, wasn't it? Because actually we'd seen 2 hares that weren't real. We'd seen 2 statues of hares.
Yeah.
And obviously they're not real, and they were like, oh, look at that, isn't that nice? But in their own right, weren't that noteworthy at all. But by the evening, and we went for a walk across that field, and you nearly trod on it and kicked it.
Nearly stepped on the carpet.
Exactly, literally, and he sort of bounced off. Again, it was like, no, that's too much of a synchronicity to ignore and not take notice of.
That was a magical hare. I mean,
really
why was
was.
it there right that close to us? We hadn't been quiet walking up the hill, we'd been yakking.
I know, exactly, yeah. And he hadn't taken off when we were 20 yards away, or sort of on the approach, sort of move and then move a little bit. He'd been absolutely dead still and hidden until you essentially nearly kicked it in the head.
Until he saw my foot sort of heading towards him.
Either that, or he was, I don't know, otherwise engaged and hadn't noticed. Although I have to say that's not that noticeable for normal for hares. I don't think that's not their behaviour. So yeah, that then prompted a look, didn't it? A sort of a perfunctory look on Google to see what hares represented. And at that time, it was really appropriate for us, actually, wasn't it?
It was.
So yeah, so it was the synchronicity of noticing these 2 particular statues, plus seeing the real one in unusual circumstances, and that that's a prime example of when I would take notice of that. Last week, last week driving around, saw a stork. Now, but I think it was just sort of hovering over somebody's roof, just about to land on someone's roof. Don't think it was delivering a baby. Could have been.
No.
Don't think it was. I've heard tell that babies don't turn up by storks these days.
Did you really?
Yes, I've heard tell. Burst my bubble.
Well, exactly. I mean, I saw at our stream at the bottom of the garden, which I've spoken of many times. I'm bored of that now, but they've actually drained it because they're doing something to the bridge a bit further down. And I was looking, I thought, what on earth is that? And it turned out to be an egret, a white heron, basically.
Yeah.
On a stump, just peering into the puddle below.
Wow.
Egret. I mean, what?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Exactly. And those are the occasions where I would say, yeah, I'm going to look up and see if that has a message for me. And
Exactly.
those the occasions. If you remember, a few months ago, I said that I was prompted into action of actually clearing some of my huge amount of stuff that I
That was
have
squirrel, wasn't it?
by squirrel. Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't either know the story or doesn't remember the story, essentially I was watching a video clip. It was just a 2.5, 3 minute video clip on Facebook, good old Facebook. And it was of an American lady that had befriended a squirrel and had gone from being, a very, very much wild squirrel to being tamer, to the point where it would come and tap on the window to ask for biscuits. And that does happen. I remember that happening actually when I was little. We had quite a family of squirrels that would come and tap on the window for biscuits. And, that's what I was watching. It was 3 minutes long, this video. So it wasn't as though it was hours and hours or days long. And a squirrel decided to use that window of opportunity, that 3 minutes that I was watching that video, to turn up on my front window, land on the window box and start scrabbling at the window. And it was literally 2 minutes, 40 seconds into that video as I'm watching this video of a squirrel scrabbling around and asking for biscuits. This one launched itself at the window, landed on the window box and was scrabbling on the window. It's like, I need to listen to that.
Yeah. Clearly there's a message.
Yeah, there's a message there, and so on. So, yeah. So those are the sorts of occasions. And again, seeing a squirrel for a lot of people is an everyday occurrence. But it was the synchronicity of that, of watching a video about a squirrel being friendly, when suddenly this squirrel turned up at my window and tapped on the window or scrabbled on the window. So again, it was like, okay, there's a message there. So it's about what so animal spirits, totems and so on, and guides, it's kind of like, what messages have they got for you? Can you use the power of these particular animals? And they've got different attributes and so on, like the goddesses and gods have. It's a similar sort of thing, have different animistic values, and you can tap into those and see what it is that you either need to bring into your life or is being forgotten or so on. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I'd agree on that, to be honest. I think it's very much the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, initially I only saw one egret, but it was so startling. I kind of thought, I have to look that up. I've never come across it. But I mean, they mean all sorts of things, like good fortune and stuff, but they're to do with freedom and independence, which coincides pretty much with what's been going on in the world. I'm like, oh, freedom and independence.
Yeah.
I think I see the relevance of that now.
Yeah, definitely. Right, what we got here? We've got all sorts of conversation going on. What have we missed? Hang on a moment. Chili pom. Okay, animal guide, says Tony, and obviously we've been rabbiting on. Pardon the pun. I'll get my coat, shall I? Pretty cat. Yes, he is a pretty cat. He's thick as a brick, but yes, he is. I said that out loud, didn't I?
You did.
Sorry, I had to. Bless him. So Hans says the cat totem wisdom tells us about timing in action and courage to explore the unknown. Those who have the cat may be encouraged to develop balance between independence and time of togetherness. Without looking things up, I would say it's about independence and kind of like strength of character, if you like, and being happy with one's lot, almost, really. Harmonious relationships between light and dark, action and observation, are also attributes of cat spirit. Journey of self-discovery, balance about opposites, and so on. Patience, waiting for the right moment. They're not. Sometimes they can be really impatient with stuff, can't they? And sometimes they can actually be really patient, and it's that relates to that whole thing of them sleeping. Is it 18 hours a day or something like that? A bit like me. And of course curiosity killed the cat. Doesn't do you much favors, does it? No, it doesn't. This is the cat that goes out the front door facing away from the house, I might add, and then starts meowing because he can't remember how to get back in again, because he hasn't worked out how to turn around. He's a bit special, this one, aren't you? Very pretty, but there's not much going on between the ear rolls, really, is there? No. But but I love him.
Indeed.
It's his birthday next week. He'll be 10.
Oh.
Aw. Aw. Yeah, so as Hans says, listen and take note because there are messages in it. Yeah, as I say, there will be occasions where you're driving along or walking along and you see all sorts of animals and they're not noteworthy. If you live in a road or you walk down a cul-de-sac and every second house has got a cat, seeing a cat probably won't be.
No.
Yeah, the chances are but it's that whole thing of a cat crossing your path when you're driving down the road, those kind of things. It's and sort of like seeing unusual animals. When I was driving to Glastonbury, for example, we saw 4 owls. What else was there? 4 owls and a rabbit and a hare and 2 foxes. And one of the foxes actually stopped and looked. It was like, Oh, there he comes. Oh, he's got his paw stuck. Come on. Come on. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Yes. Next foot. Next one. No, he's forgotten how to walk. Come on. Come on. Oh, dear. Silly. Come on. Come say hello. So, and again, seeing an owl. Wow, look at that. It's an owl. You see 4 of them. One of which kind of flew straight towards the car, did an about turn, and then flew off. You sort of think, okay, let's have a look at owl. Let's have a look at Hattie. Oh, Hattie, hello. You're very nice. So it's those sort of things. It's things that you don't ignore. And of course, good old Google. There will always be lots of rubbish on the internet. So when you when you read things, try to not just go with only the first thing you see and say, oh, well, it means that, because there'll be lots of different interpretations. But when you get 3 or 4 or 5 different lots of writing that say similar stuff, then you can kind of do that and pick the bones with it, rather than just go, oh, well, it means X, Y, and Z. And it doesn't necessarily, it's just one person's interpretation, which might not tally with any other person's interpretation. So, it's, that's the thing, because anybody can put stuff on the internet, can't they?
They can.
They can. So, exactly. What have we got here? Listen and take note. Oh, now she's pulling up the carpet. The other cat's pulling up the carpet. She's being a pest, aren't you? Yeah. So Hans says she had the spider the other day. Yeah, that was definitely something to be noted. So I have quite a lot of spiders. Even more cobwebs, to be honest. Although I have actually hoovered up 1 or 2. But when you've got one of those skeleton spiders walking out your slipper. Oh.
Cat-related incident.
That would be the barnet. Yeah. And she's gone. Yeah. So when you've got one of those skeleton spiders wandering out your slippers, you kind of take notice.
Just be glad you didn't try and put your slipper on before. No.
Well, it wouldn't improve the spider, would it?
No.
Definitely not.
Texturally rather nasty.
Not good. Not good. It's not as bad as standing in a dead squirrel, though, I have to say.
Yeah.
That is one of my worst experiences.
Squirrel slipper.
It was gross. It was literally stuck on my foot. It was vile. Because I trod in it, not just on it, in it with a bare foot. Don't do it. Not to be recommended.
No, well, not intentionally, absolutely.
No. No, that was positively grim. Really was.
Taking note of dreams, Hans has said.
Yeah.
Very important, because especially if you get a repeating theme.
Yeah. So when it comes to repeating themes, as Hans says here, so we've been talking about the Norns, and the Norns were a new thing to me. And I'm like, do I know about the Norns? No, I have to explain them. Look it up. So I looked it up. Again, like I just suggested, looked up various different sources of what they were and so on and so forth. And for obviously this is all very new to me, so I'm just going to relate or relay what I picked up from said searches. Essentially, they're kind of past, present, and future. It's a bit like the fates. Obviously, you've got the Roman fates, haven't you? The Roman fates or the Greek fates? It's the Greek fates, isn't it?
Greek, I think, yes.
Yeah. They seem to have turned up after the fates, and there seems to be lots of discrepancy as to which came first and whether it's chicken and egg thing. But essentially, it's the fates, it's the past, present, and future. There are various schools of thoughts that say there are only 3 and their names are. And then there are other schools of thought that say actually there's quite a lot of them, some of which have got those names. And then there's some other less well-known ones too, good ones, bad ones, etc. So there does seem to be quite a lot of discrepancy. But essentially they're from the, sort of the Norse, come on, word. Thank you, mythology. So it's all from the Norse mythology, and so on. Anyway, so we've been talking about those. Out comes this spider, poor little old thing, and it's like, yeah, the web, weaving the web. It's all, you've got the weird sisters, haven't you? All weird, weaving the web and all that kind of stuff. And so it was suggested to me by Hannah, why don't you go and take a journey to the Norns? Well, really? That's... if you think so. So I thought, yeah, why not? In for a penny, in for a pound, off I went. That was interesting. Didn't have a huge amount to say, but I did pick up some interesting stuff from an ancestral point of view, actually, because we've been talking about healing and sort of healing the ancestors and stuff like that. And yeah, actually, there was some stuff that kind of came to light. It wasn't earth-shattering stuff. It was kind of it was sort of stuff that was sort of known but not known, if you like. So it wasn't new, although there was newness to it. But yeah, so stuff came up from that. And then when it came to, obviously for past, present stuff, very little came up. But obviously, you're not going to get loads and loads of stuff. And similarly for future stuff, but it kind of just showed that there's more work to be done, sort of on a spiritual level, I suppose, and an ancestral level, to move on to the next thing. But when they'd finished talking to me, by God, did they kick me out. Oh. It was really weird, actually. That I think that of all the things was the weirdest experience of all, because I'm kind of, obviously, doing this visualization, this journey work, and I'm, sort of, zoned out, doing my own thing, and then it was literally a kick, and I was, I'm back in the room. Whoa. Okay. Oh, that was weird. Okay then. And it was just like, we finished with you, go. And I went.
Blimey.
So yeah, so that was literally an eye opener, because I've been, and I made that noise. So yeah, it was really bizarre. And as I say, of all of the nearly 2 hours that I was doing that, so it's long. It wasn't just a 5-minute. Well, hello, how'd you do? Nearly 2 hours of doing that. So it was, it was a large amount of work done, but it was like, wow, that I think was more noteworthy than anything else. It was literally, we don't need to talk to you anymore. You've got what you need, go. So yeah, it was different. So yeah, there you go. But they didn't seem to be particularly perturbed that I turned up. And I was very, very polite, like you should be, I suppose. So yeah, so there we go. So the Norns. So that was a new one on me. So it's nice to learn something new. I love learning new stuff. I really do.
Yeah, it's important.
It is, definitely. Very important. Well, they say every day is a school day, don't they? And I subscribe to that point of view. I think you should be in a position of wanting to learn something new every day, and
absolutely,
being able to learn something, even if it's only something really small. It doesn't matter. It's just that open to being receptive, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's being open to opportunity and to taking on new stuff and stepping outside your comfort zone. Yes.
Exactly, yeah. So Cherokee Lee, hello. Says he's really dapper. I think they're referring to my Hattipus.
I think it's the Hattie, or possibly the Bertov.
Possibly
They're both very dapper.
Bertovsky is a Russian spy, you know. Bertovsky.
Oops.
Well, he always was a Russian spy. I'm not quite sure whether I ought to say that anymore. I've been saying he's a Russian spy for the last 10 years. Now I'm kind of thinking perhaps that's not that PC. Anyway.
Oops.
So, yeah. Yeah, I want to put this up here. This is a comment that Jen's made, and it's a brilliant comment. Can people see that?
Yes.
And what she says is Tony had said that they kept dreaming about a particular cat, and it stands up because they're not a cat person. So, yeah, going back to the totem animals and that kind of thing, is the noteworthy things. And, yeah, if you're a cat person, I'm a cat person, and dreaming about a cat wouldn't be all that unusual. Same with you, Heather, really. You know, so yeah, because you're a cat person and you've got cats at home, so dreaming about the cat, it's neither here nor there. It's just an everyday occurrence. But not being about a cat person and dreaming about cats, yes, and that's exactly what we were saying. That's when you take notice of stuff.
And if it is a particular one, what it is about that cat that makes it stand out.
Exactly, yeah. So is it because it's got super big ears, for example, or very, very long whiskers, so it's very sensitive, or very long tail, making it very agile and have great balance and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's all those little bits of analysing what it is that you see, and so on. I do hope that helped. So yeah, did I? Oh God. I do have a brain because I've had scans and they said it's there and I don't have any holes in it. But to be honest with you, I'm not convinced. I think there might be a small hole leaking out scent. Oh dear. And memory.
Well, I've got no excuse.
No. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, giving context to Becky and Heather. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so as Hans says also, it's like doing a journey to the small, so like bacteria and viruses, to see what they need to teach you or tell you. Yeah, we talked about that last week, and I was saying that it had been suggested to me, it was Hannah that suggested it to me about journeying to this particular illness that I had 9 years ago, which was particularly unpleasant. And it's like, well, I found out more recently that it's one of those things that stays with you, doesn't sod off, unfortunately, which I didn't know and wasn't pleased to hear. So yeah, that kind of puts a different context on lots of different things, actually. Yeah, and obviously they suggested to me, well, why not travel to it and say, what have you got to tell me? What have you not done? Is there something that you should be doing that you need to know, and so on. So yeah, so that was that there. So yeah, hello, are you back? Oh, he's worked out how to walk, though. Jolly good. Here it is.
All 4 legs this time.
Yes, I've got all 4 legs on lappage. Hello. And whoop.
His ears are like, what? What are you doing to me?
He's so beautiful. Oh no.
He's like, I just want to go sleep.
I'm so tired. I'm so very tired. I'm tired. Yeah.
Oh.
He's very soft. And also what I discovered, he's off again. Well, he's quite splodgy. So he used to be very, very stripy, and his stripes have kind of merged. And so he's more splodgy than stripy now. And what's interesting is that where his splodges are and his stripes have merged into a splodge, they've become, you can kind of move them into like like rosette guinea pigs. They've got like those sort of like opened up flower bits. You can actually do that with his fur. So he's got like these rosettes on him. It's really funny. Yeah, it's different. I've never come across that before. It's very odd. Yeah, it's like you get these kids that have got a double crown and they've got the cowlick. It's the same sort of thing.
God,
So yeah, there you are. So that's that. So yes, Hans says done it to COVID and to Lyme's disease, which is interesting. Oh, Chrissy's having cat envy. Yeah, you wait till the Tiddly one comes back. She'll be back in a minute, bringing a certain amount of naughtiness with her. She usually does. Well, that's different. To parts of machinery and to components, as in journeying. I'd like to see what goes wrong with something, presumably. Yeah.
Ooh. Well, why not, I suppose?
Yeah, why not? I suppose it wouldn't answer back so much, but interesting.
Well, we all
But
talk
then,
to cars, don't we?
yeah, well, yeah, don't we? Just it's like, not now, not now. Don't do that just now, please, please don't do that. Not now, not now. Pull yourself together. Yes, I've been doing an awful lot of that with my car just recently. She's been a bit naughty. Hello, Susan. Hello.
Yeah, that's Susie. Hello.
Hello, 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 hello. So, yeah, like smart meters. Like, yeah, exactly. Have you noticed outside? This is a complete change of conversation, by the way. Have you noticed outside that there's odd noises in the last couple of weeks?
Not
Ambient noises. Pardon?
Odd
ambient noises. I've noticed lots around here. You know, before, yeah, a lot of like odd ambient noises. You know, we had that really big storm a few weeks ago, and you get the calm before the storm, or when it snowed, you get that real quiet stillness that's quite eerie, and you get that. We had that before the storm, that kind of quiet, eerie sound.
Yeah.
And then a few days, week or so ago, maybe ish, there was the same strange silence outside that was like, oh, okay, that sounded like they haven't got a storm forecast. That's really, really strange. And then there's been some strange ambient sort of hums and sounds and stuff going on. I just wondered whether you'd noticed it.
I do sometimes at night, but then on a purely practical level, we have big shops way over the back of us, and I think they have their generators on at night and stuff. So
yeah, but you've not noticed anything out of the ordinary, nothing different over the last couple of weeks.
Not here, no.
Yeah, because obviously there's not a huge amount of noise out here.
No, you're not a million miles away from the airport, though.
No, but then you get used to hearing the noise from the airport, and obviously you hear the noise of the planes and so on, even though they're as the crow flies, it's about 6 miles, I think. So, obviously there are, sounds associated with that. But, I've lived here 2 years now, so I've got used to those regular sounds, but there's been different sounds in the last week or 10 days. And I wondered whether you'd heard strange sounds too. It's been really quite noticeable. Yeah, or
not here,
ambient noise. Yeah,
well, keep an eye and ear out.
Keep an ear out. Keep an eye out if you like, but probably better with your ears.
It's probably better an ear. Yeah. I mean, you do get strange sounds, and obviously it depends which way the wind's going as to what floats over from where.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
Yeah. No, I can't say that I have noticed anything particularly different. But,
yeah.
Maybe more local to you.
Yeah, maybe, but it's just strange, really. Yeah. So, what have we got here? Yeah, as Jen says, totally makes sense for Hans. For in the animist view, everything is alive. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's not just the animals and the plants and the people and so on. It is the mountains and the machinery and all the other bits and bobs that go with it too. So yeah, that's the thing about being animist, isn't it? Everything's alive. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, over the last couple of weeks, it's weird. Yes, it is. Okay, so Susan's had a visit from a terminally ill friend at 4 a.m. Okay. I wonder whether you found that distressing or whether that was something that you found calming, actually, Susan. I wonder whether you found that. Yeah, I'd be interested to know if you can let us know whether you found that reassuring or upsetting. Because obviously, it could go in either direction. Yeah. That's strange, isn't it, when you get stuff like that? And sometimes it goes the other way, that when, obviously, as you know, I'm, sort of go and visit a very elderly friend, and she's 97, and she gets visitations from, people from her past, and she gets visitations from them, and it's almost like they're sort of seeing how she's doing and whether they need to come and collect her almost. That's interesting. So, yeah, I wonder what you've got to say about that, really. Yeah. Were you awake, Susan, when she came as well? That'd be an interesting thing. Or whether it was part of your sleep pattern that she came from your friend. Yeah.
There's always a bit of a delay with the chat, so it can take a little bit. But yeah, I think it's not always entirely unusual that kind of thing can happen, but it can be a bit concerning. What do you do?
Yeah. Going back to the noise thing, while we're waiting for Susan to reply, going back to the noise thing, Chris says that it's interesting, the noise thing, because she's been suffering with tinnitus, but thought COVID was responsible. Now she's wondering. Yeah, no, there's definitely been some, and I get, I'll get a sudden change of tone in my ear. I'll suddenly, get that, different ears, different tones, and so on. So I'll suddenly get that, and I'm like, okay, is there something that I need to listen to? Is there, whatever? But no, it's definitely not. My ears is definitely outside, because you can pinpoint the noises. It's really strange. It's kind of like an ambient noise. It's like, yeah, but it's ambient, but it's emanating from that. It's just weird.
So there's a direction to it. It's not just like ear one.
No, there seems to be. And then you can kind of think, well, is it? I don't know. So it's definitely from outside. It's not because it's not just that I hear it in the house. I'll hear it outside and stuff.
Yeah, because I know what's the ear thing you mean when you get the high pitch. I always get those, and I always think, yeah, it's like, oh, what are you trying to tell me?
I'm listening. Talk to me. Yeah. So yeah. But no, this, yeah, exactly. And if it's recent, Chris, because you've got COVID, I'm wondering, same thing. So yeah, but there's definitely strange ambient sound outside. Very odd.
And that Susan has said that she was semi-awake, so it's that, and that's the state, isn't it? When you're half awake, half asleep.
Half. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very sad. But they said they were ready for a new adventure, bored of being sick, and wanted everyone to let them go. Oh, yeah. Sad but peaceful. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice that they were able to come and say that, though. Actually, that might I would find. Well, I hope you find that reassuring. Actually, yeah, it's a difficult one, though, isn't it? It's tough to let people go, I think. Yeah. And as Hans says, helping someone passing so they die a good death, it's such an honourable thing to do. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, compassionate release. Yeah, definitely. That's sad, but unfortunately, it's the only guarantee we have in life, isn't it, that we go? That's the thing. And as Hans says, having a good death, wherever that's possible, if that's possible, is an important thing.
It should be as important as having a good birth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as the last hurrah. Yeah. On that note, I think we'll say toodaloo. Hope you've enjoyed today. We've had a very, very wide discussion. Obviously, we talked about healing as well, and animism and all the rest of it. But yeah. Remember, we're not here next Wednesday because it's Bubba Day, and I'm going to wave at sea. Thank you, Tony. So we won't be here next Wednesday, but we will be here the following week. So we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great fortnight, and we'll see you soon. Have a good one. Do the awkward wave, Heather.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.